Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and to another episode of Come Make We Talk. If this is your first time here, I'm Shanique and I create videos on personal development and personal growth. Videos normally come out in different forms, but today I'm talking to Marsha Gaye, and it's in the form of a Come Make We Talk episode. And if you're not new around here, you already know how we roll. Welcome back. You know, I love having you, and I love sharing content that you find valuable. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. You already know you like the Schweppes, you understand? So just hit the subscribe button, join the community, and share your feedback in the comment section. Now, if you have ever had expectations of something, but the reality turned out to be something completely different and you're not sure how to push through, then you definitely want to hear the story. And we're humans, so we've all had that experience and there's something more that we can learn. But today's guest, Marsha Gaye Knight, is a born strategist and a lover of all things sports. But when her career aspirations turned out to be something completely different from what she had envisioned, she was forced to start all over from scratch. And I mean, like in a different country where she knew no one, by herself, so that she could find herself again. Today, she talks about how that process was, how she came back triumphant, and how she now supports business professionals in the space with her company, Black in Sports Business. It's a good one. It's a good one. Grab a snack, and Marsha, come make we talk. All right, welcome back to another episode of Come Make We Talk. I'm Shanique, your host, and right here with me is Marsha Gaye Knight. And let me tell you, just reading through her bio and her history, this lady is a firecracker. So I can't wait to dive into, all of those moving parts that make her who she is. So Marsha, thanks so much. Thanks again for agreeing to hop on and have this.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. All right, let's dive in. So, born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica, right?
That's true.
As a country bumpkin, like I don't know what.
Oh, so anywhere outside of Kingston, it will be considered country. That's how we feel.
I am city adjacent, right?
Oh, I like it. Yeah, city adjacent. All right, cool. I can go.
And I think that as it's not as country as like country.
Yes,
right.
I agree. That's like so country-ish, like but not country. Yeah.
But what was it like growing up? What part of Kingston are you from?
So I grew up in Kingston, St. Andrews. So I grew up in Gordon Town, which is like up in the hills, like past Papine going up. Yeah. So that's where I grew up for most of my life. I left Jamaica when I was 18, 19 to go to university in the States. So I grew up most of my time in Jamaica, and I went
primary school. You went to prep school or high school?
I went to prep school. I went to Mona Prep. And then I transitioned to the St. Andrew High School for girls. So I went to Andrews.
You have that little fluidity.
Yes. You're rich. She has a St. Andrew High. Yeah, I just want to make sure you clear that up. But for between us, all the other Andrews girls, we call it Andrews, but for anybody else, it's St. Andrew.
So while walking past, you'll say, okay, Andrews over there.
Yes, that's Andrews. But if anybody else asks questions, we have to clarify exactly what it is. So I was there. I completed like first a fifth form and then sixth form as well, and then asked for sixth form and moved to the US to pursue my my undergraduate degree. So it's been a while. It's been a while.
What was your family structure like growing up? What are some of the things that you
I started off I started in a typically nuclear
that kind of imprinted and affected how you showed up at school, how you showed up at Mona Prep, and how you kind of secured your community?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I grew up in a typically like nuclear family. Mom and dad were at home. I was an only child for a long time. So I was an only child for 11 years.
What is long?
I was an only child for 11 years.
Okay. Because I have a daughter She turned 10 at the time of this recording. She would have turned 10 yesterday.
Okay.
And she's an only child. So, you know, people are pressure the womb.
Yes, they're like, we're not going to have our next baby.
Listen,
we're not going to have our next baby.
I'm like, look, we're still young in this process. So it's good. You're reinforcing for me right now.
It's fine. It's fine. And it's funny because I'm like, I didn't think this was going to happen. I thought I was like a guaranteed only child. So definitely, if you want to have any more, give your daughter a heads up because it can be quite the transition.
No, she ready. She made a Christmas song about it. She said, all I want for Christmas, you know, like Mariah would have go, is a baby sister.
No. Oh, it's sister she wants. No, I wanted a baby brother because I didn't want competition. So I had to negotiate with God. I'm like, okay, God, hear this. I already had no say in this baby in the first place. So at least give me the consolation prize. If I can't have, I don't want no sister. Because if she's cuter than me, if she's faster than me, if she's smarter than me, it's going to be a problem. Okay. So they give me a brother. And he gave me a brother. So
talk about the method of believing.
Yes, I was very self-aware at the time. I'm like, I know my shortcomings. And I know that if I get a sister and she's cuter than me, problems.
Here's the honesty. I appreciate the no. I don't take it for granted because it just meant that your approach was pragmatic. Mm-hmm. You're like, look, strategically thinking, I want to position us both to win, right?
Yes.
And in order to do that, we can't be able to.
He has to have his value prop, and I have to have my value prop.
Wow.
So only girl, only boys.
Oh, wow. What did your parents do for a living?
So my parents both worked in the insurance industry. So my dad worked on the life insurance side and my mom worked. Yeah. So both my parents lived together until I was like in third form, I think, third or fourth form. And my father left to come to Canada. That's where I am at now. So he moved to Canada in 2000. And yeah, so since then, it's been me, my mom, and my brother together the whole time because it's been kind of like a back and forth between US, Canada, Jamaica. For a while, it was like a very tumultuous circle.
Wow. How did that shift the dynamic in the home and shift like your sense of security? Because like you grew over a decade, you're having both parents. There is like watching my daughter, I didn't have that growing up, but watching my daughter experience that, having both parents, there is a sense of security that you're sure you're not even aware of. But when that shift changes in the home, like how looking back now, how did you receive that or process that? Did it affect you in any?
It still affects me to this day, to be completely honest, Shanique, because how that happened, it wasn't by the plan. The plan was that it was supposed to go for 2 weeks, but he never came back. So the thing is that it wasn't a prepared shift. It was like a literal shift and shutter. So everything that I knew up until that point I would never know it again. And I think that was the hardest part, understanding that what you know to be reality is now a memory, and moving forward, everything else that you know is shifting. So I think for me, that was my first real experience with change, like drastic change. And for me now, change is very fluid for me now, in the sense where I no longer tie myself to things anymore emotionally. I can move and shift and do anything without any major emotional ties. I can end relationships. I can move forward in stuff. I can just move on. I have limited emotional attachment to things.
Well, you make me have to sit up in my chair.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I don't possess that skill set. Like, I am an emotional wreck. And whenever it's a simple thing as moving. Well, it's not simple because moving, like the number
it's
3
a stressful thing. Stressful.
For me, if I move into a space, I'm the person who will just like, I have to progressively, I can't just move and decorate. I have to take time to say, okay, this space is my own. This space is my own. And I couldn't understand it. Like, even in college, when you move into your room, people would stick to right away. And I said, but Shanique, your room is bare bones. I'm like, I have to have it that way, or else it does something to me mentally. But that's interesting. You have that. And I mean, a part of it, I'm sure, is protection, right?
Yes, 100%. It's a defense mechanism. Yes.
I can depend on myself. And so you never give yourself to others too much. But it's also understanding that life happens to everybody.
Yes,
and
it does.
Sometimes we can grow up into a bubble where it's more of like, okay, well, this is my world and it's going to stay that way forever and it's never going to change. And as much as I grew up in a single parent home, the level of security that I got from my mom and my siblings gave me that feeling. So
okay,
it's interesting to hear you say that. That struck a nerve right there.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a very emotional person. I just don't allow myself to be emotional because I know that if I go, like when you watch Niagara Falls and you just go over the precipice, I know if I go over the precipice, it's lights out. So I don't allow myself to get to the point where things affect me.
Are you fearful that one day your chest is gonna just grip you and you're just like weep? Are you fearful?
Yeah, I've been dying to cry for the past 3 weeks because something's been happening personally. And I was like, let's just get this out. And it's not coming. So I guess because there are two things working in my favor. The fact that I have learned to condition myself to just move forward and just not dwell on things. But the other thing too is that as an athlete for a very long time. And for me, the mindset is like, let's just get this done. Let's just get this done. Let's just get this done. Has always been forefront for me. Yeah, you feel some type of way. Yeah, it hurts your feelings, but do in spite of.
My husband
move forward in spite of.
He did track for a long time, and it always I could never. I don't know if he had the words to articulate it the way you did, but I could if I'm saying if he's done, even if he's weeping and doing it, he's
gonna do it. I'm gonna push.
Oh, you do that? Can we unpack this for a minute? But when that level of strategy, that level of pragmatism that you demonstrated in the home and with yourself, and how did you use that approach when it came to selecting your friends or your allies or people at school?
It's funny because my friend circle.
Were you the popular girl?
Yeah. So the thing is, everybody knew because I was just very involved in a lot of different aspects. Yes, I was an athlete, but I was also determined not to be a monolith in the sense where I have other talents. How can I cultivate those other talents? So even in high school, multi-passionate. So why am I limiting myself to just my athletic ability? I can lead, I can do other things. So in high school, I did about 6 sports in high school. I tried different stuff. I also did Girl Guide for a minute. I did SFA. I did, the brownie thing. I did that in prep school and high school. I did that. So you go through the motions of because in high school it's a really it's a feeler, it's a tester space, right? So you try things. If you don't try it, how you know you can do it or you can't do it? You can't just stand up on the sidelines and expect to know whether you can or can't. You have to literally try it. And if it doesn't, and even if you fail, you never, you don't come out empty-handed. You have a lesson. You have evolved from where you used to be by going through that experience. So I've always been all right, cool, I'll try it. All right, cool, I've tried. So most things for me, so even when my scholarship was being offered, they had other offers, but the one I took was the one in North Dakota. And everybody's like, nobody don't go there. I'm like, I'll try it. No one has ever been there before. I was the first Jamaican there. I'm like, well, that means I get to write my own path and figure it out the way I want to do it. But if I don't like it, I just leave. There's nothing marrying me to that space. If I don't like it, I just leave. And I know how to leave. So
when it came to picking your friends, when it came to picking those people who were closest to you, how did you approach that?
It's interesting. I don't think I've ever approached it in a singular way. For me, it's always about chemistry. I have friends literally from every facet, right? And it's never been about, I want to be friends with you. It's been more about we gotta click or we don't, right? And in terms of the vulnerability and the safe spaces, for me, my friends help me to evolve. My friends help me to grow. Right. So if we start out here. But if we're still here 5 years from now, let's reevaluate that. You need to, I like progressive people because I like people who help me to push as much as I help them to push. So I need some people who who have my back. I'm a teammate. I've always been a teammate in different aspects. So I'm very, my friends are my safe spaces. They're the ones I can be the most vulnerable with, the no judgment, the openness, the honesty, but I can also be that space for them. But I'm rather disgusting sometimes in the sense where I'm like, but so you're wrong, right? Like I don't sugarcoat a lot of things.
Listen to me. I used to think that everybody is like that because I'm like that. I'm blunt and I'm honest, and I'm like, I don't like that. That's enough for me. Until I got to college and I got like, I got hit like a brick. And one of my classmates were saying, Shanique, like, I know you like that, and I know you have the best intentions, but not everybody receives it that way. And I said, well, I don't want to be friends with them then. Like, if they don't,
it's either this or that.
We can't be friends. We can't be friends.
But it's also good to match energies, right? And respect everybody's personas, because there are friends that I have that people have question marks about, like, how are you guys so different? But you guys have been friends for so long. I said, because I know who she is. I don't want her to be anybody else. I match her energy because I'm the kind of person where I read the room. So if I know what level of Marsha I can present, is this the room I can go 10? Is this the room I can go 5? So you have to also do that in your friendships. Not everybody can take 10. Not everybody can take 5. So you have to gauge and read the room and respect people's own thing, like how you want them to respect your thing. Like, don't come here with no 10. Because I ain't about no 10 today.
Have you ever felt, so with that in mind, right? Have you ever, and no, you'd have had years to kind of perfect that and identify those cues, but have you ever felt restricted in a space, personally or professionally, because you brought a 10 when somebody really needed 0.5?
I felt restricted in a space where I felt like I could not be myself, where I felt like I had to fit into a space or fit into a box. So yeah, I've been in those spaces before, and that was probably the most stifled I've ever felt as an individual. Not being able to express myself authentically, not being able to share how I am, because my experiences make me who I am, and hiding those things or like restricting those things isn't really restricting me. So I've been in spaces before where that restriction was high. And it does feel like you're living in a vice. It's not the most comfortable thing.
Got it. All right. So you said earlier that you did 6 sports in high school, but did you wait until you get to high school to start to venture in the sports world, or was that something that you were doing from like going to prep?
Yeah, man. So at prep school, I started running track because all my friends were running track. Because in grade 3, you don't need anything else but peer pressure, right? So the truth is, I did not make the track team for like 2 years in a row because I was just not good. And when I went to I got better like towards the end of prep school. And then I said, okay, cool, let me go to high school and continue running track. I wanted to stop running track, but my parents weren't about it. Because I wanted to go hang with my friends and be like the cool girl to go party.
Thing.
Exactly. I want to go party with my friend and I want to go out with my friend and they're like, no, you're going to continue running track. I'm like, well, lame. None of my cool friends run track, right? I'm gonna party. I miss down here like idiot at track meet. But truth of the matter is I got a full scholarship to go to school in the US. So they saw the end goal, even though I didn't see it yet. So it was just more so improving in certain aspects to the point where I was worthy or capable of getting a scholarship. Because at the beginning of it,
were you participating in? So you track.
I did swimming, I did tennis, I did hockey, field hockey, I did netball. What else did I do? So track, swimming, tennis, hockey. What else did I can't remember now, Shanique. Oh my God. Netball. We did
volleyball.
No, I never did that. The ball in my face was too much for me. I don't remember what other sports we did. I think, yeah, it was 5. I did one more. I can't remember what it is. But I just experimented with sport because at the time I thought I could only do track, but I'm always about what else can I do? Kind of thing. So I always try to evolve from that.
I have found that for some people, like we always veer towards one side, right? So if you are a nerd person, then your body kind of just, you don't have, let me see, you're too much in your head. If you are someone who is more on the theory or more about the smarts. So when it comes to trusting your body to do sports or anything physical, it tends to take you a lot longer, and vice versa. If you're somebody who is like, look, I know I can do anything physical because I trust my body. And then when time to apply that to the book, it's like a brick wall.
Yeah.
You seem to be balanced in terms of your, approach to both areas. Like, my question is more about like, okay, one, at what point were you aware of that? And then two, would you say that your approach to life in general kind of mimics that level of balance?
I don't know if I was fully aware of it growing up. I just did things, right? I was always the kid. I was like, all right, cool. I might be scared, but what if I wasn't scared? I always ask myself, what if you weren't scared? Like, would you do it? Yeah, let's try it. I try to do things because I realize, especially as I get older, the more you miss things, the more you miss the chance to figure out if you like it or not. How do you know if you're going to be good at it if you don't try? Like I always kind of like pose those questions to me. If you weren't scared, would you do it? So those are the things I've always tried to like leverage as tools. But growing up, I just did it because I'm like, I can afford it. Yeah, my parents can pay for it. All right, cool. So why not do it? If I don't like it, I don't like it. And my parents have always put that in. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Just try it. So they're the ones that kind of put it in my head from early. So I did a lot of things. Dance, I did like anything. Like it doesn't matter because they were always like, if you don't like it, then we just stop it. But you can't just sit on the side and try to figure it out. You have to literally engage.
Got it. And that I think that that kind of mindset has served you well, clearly.
Yeah.
And it has helped you to kind of progress to the point where now you have something to share with upcoming athletes, with upcoming professionals in the sports space. What was the deciding factor for you making that decision to start your business to help other athletes coming up?
So that for me was very, very personal. I worked at the NHL for a very short stint, and it was a period in my career where I call it like my turning point, right? So I had done undergrad, moved to Canada, tried to get into the sports space, and it was just very tumultuous in the sense where I wasn't making any real breakthrough.
You were trying to get into the sports space in what capacity?
In the capacity of events and sponsorship. So working behind on the business side of things. And it was proving to be very, very difficult. So it was more like 6 to 7 years of disappointments perpetual, right? So those are the times when I really appreciated my friends, because if there was a time I couldn't afford a car and I had to walk like miles to get to a bus stop, they would call me and make sure that I had someone to walk with. Like there were people who backed me up. If I didn't have any money, then pay for things. There are people who, if I couldn't afford trips because I'm over here hustling, they're like, we got it. I literally depended on them because they knew I was pursuing something. And they're like, if you're this dedicated to it, we're this dedicated to you, right? So my friends were all in, like how I was all in. And so when I got to the point of making the transition, I got my first full-time job 6 years into the struggle. And when I got to the league, it was the worst experience of my life. So that was daunting because my friends were super excited, like, yes, she make it now, we're rich, I felt that way for a second until I realized that this was horrible. So
what made it horrible?
It was for me, it wasn't the experience I expected it to be in terms of like a environment to help promote my growth as a professional. It was not a great environment for me. It was borderline depression. I got really recluse. And so I started to do things I've never done before. So I started to drive to work instead of commute on the train, just so I could sit in my car and cry for hours. I started to not stop talking to people. I withdrew a lot from a lot of my friends because I felt like, because I wasn't doing well at work, those negative narratives of being an embarrassment or being a failure, like they were very profound. So I thought that my friends could even accept me. So there are friendships that were lost in the process too, because I just got really withdrawn. It was somebody I didn't really recognize, to be honest. And there was one day in particular where I had driven into work and sat in the parking lot like, Lord, what's me just doing today? What that look like? Like that kind of talk. And I was crying and something inside me said, remember this moment right here. This is one of your lowest moments. Remember this moment. And remember that you're going to make a promise to yourself right now that you don't want anybody else to feel as low as you feel right now.
Wow.
So I kind of boxed it up, you know, put on your big girl panties, go upstairs, do the thing. I think I made it to like lunch and ball again in the bathroom. I don't remember. But either way, it was just like one of those like, Lord help me days, you know. And being a Christian, you're always like, it got to the point where I used to put down Psalm 27 on my table. I mean, just I read it at work. Like it was just ridiculous. Like it was just an emotionally overwhelming environment. And so when I got fired from that space, I started to have to rebuild myself.
Hold on a minute.
Go ahead.
So let's stick a pin. You just said you got fired. So earlier, you talked a lot about, okay, well, if I don't like it, I'll just leave. Why was that not applied to this space, you think? As because this was waiting until you got fired.
Oh, I can tell you that answer for sure. That one was because it was the league. Like, you worked your whole career to get here. Why are you leaving this? Like, who leaves this? Like, you're the only Black person here. What does that look like if you can't do it? What does that mean for other Black people who want to get into this space?
But the weight of what
it's the weight. Yeah, it was the weight. Like, this is your first full-time job. Are you stupid? You waited 7 years to get a full-time job. You get the job and you go, are you dumb? Like, it was a lot of that. Like, it was more so just keep pushing. You can't do it today, suck it up. Like, make it to the next level. Like, just get to the next day. It was that mentality tripped in now, the survival mode, more so than the luxury of being like, well, I don't like it, I'ma leave.
So when you got fired, like the rubber hit the road, stuff hit the fan. What happened at that point?
It was a great sense of relief, to be honest. I didn't like, yes, it hurts your feelings, it hurts your ego, but the fact that I didn't have to come in there tomorrow put my soul at ease, right? Wow. I told my mom, I told my friends, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do from here. But the truth is, I had always had aspirations to work in the Olympic space, and I was leveraging experience to get to that point. So before I got fired, I had gone to Rio in 2016, and being in Rio and experiencing the whole Olympic atmosphere had convinced me that in my mind, it made sense, but no, in reality, this is kind of what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so when I got fired from the league, I mean, I have a very Beyonce principle. Beyonce says you have 24 hours to feel like crap. After that, you got to do something about it. So I took my 24 hours to go home and cry. But after that, I'm going to do something about it. And so I said to myself, you want to work in the Olympic space. Nothing is really holding you back right now. So why don't you give yourself a chance and do it? I didn't know how it was going to happen, Shanique. Like, at the time I had no answers. So I went into like a research mode. But at the time also, because of my experiences at the league, I had started teaching, I started taking soccer size classes because I felt that I was losing my identity in this space. So I had to go do something that made me feel empowered and made me feel, So good thing I started that. So I started teaching classes full time. Like, I was like, yay, let's just teach classes. So I started teaching fitness classes full time. And then when researching, how do I get into the Olympic space? What did I have to do? And then I found this master's program in Greece. And I said, let me just apply, y'all, because what's the worst that can happen?
To tell you no one, that's it. There's another day after that.
Another day after that. So roll the dice, sent in my application, and they accepted me. So I got this acceptance in June and had to be in Greece by September. So it was more like, how am I going to get tuition money, plane fare, all these things. I'm just like, what am I doing? So my friends were just like, and it's funny because I was still applying for jobs, right? So the day I got the acceptance, I also got a job offer.
Wow.
And the job was a job that I had applied for before. They didn't accept me. I came back and applied again. They gave me more money. The title I wanted. It was literally down the road from where I lived. I could have I'd have had the autonomy to execute scholarship for the CFL. I would have had so much autonomy.
Wow.
But I looked on them and it was like literally a fork in the road. So you say, you're going to go do this master's program and explore something you really want to do, or you're going to take the safe route and stay here and regret this. So I said, well, let me just take my broke ass to Greece because
No. The decision could not have been that easy. Let's stick a pin right there, because what you said to me, like, how long did it take you to make that decision? Like, what
about
was it?
2-3 weeks.
3 weeks. So during those 3 weeks, like, talk me through what was going on. What were your thoughts? How were you Did you do like a pros and cons list? Like
pros and cons list, yes. The pros and cons list was easy because you had your friends and you're just like, they said, listen, if this is what you really want to do, you have to take a leap. And I've always heard the expression saying that the best thing that happens is happen after you leap. Like you just can't stand up here and figure, yep, I'm gonna just get it. You have to take a dive, right? So I knew that if I stayed here, I would make money, but would I be fulfilling myself to my full potential? Had I recovered enough from the trauma to go into a space that may not or may have worked for me? I don't usually play things. Hey,
Marsha.
Yes. Can you got me?
I missed
back? I'm back.
For a second. Okay. You don't usually play things safe.
No, I don't usually play things safe. So I would not be content staying and doing a safe route. That's not who I am. And then you say, boy, grease money look tall up. I mean, I have no money right about now. And then you say, but this is what will lead you to something else. But it's the uncertainty of will it. So having Jamaican parents, how money you get, man? Take the work. Where you go, Chris, go do? Like, it was just one of those things. So after the liberation of back and forth, I said, which one would you regret more? And I said, I would regret Greece way more. So I went that direction.
Right there is the deciding factor. Because it's like, when you say that, you're like, okay, I don't have to go. You can't get another job. You
can't get another job. Because I lose the job there too. Like, it was just because I wasn't in a position to even go back to work because I was so traumatized. I didn't think I was competent enough to work. But the thing about it too, Shanique, is like when you make those kind of decisions, it's funny how everything just happens. Like when
I always say that the moment, if you are stuck between deciding, as confused as you are, like your space will just continue to stay. But the moment you make a decision, it's like
things open up. It was wild. And I had reached out to my friends because at the time I was like, I only have this much in my RSPs, and I only have this much left. I take out the whole of that. I said, why? I mean, I have no retirement money. So that's how I go. And so I started taking out all my RSPs to pay tuition. I was still short. So when my friend them said, do I go for me and all the way dash money against it? So I said, all right, go for me, pay for the other half of my tuition.
What?
And then I went to church and I was like, so I'm doing this. And church is like, all right, so the plane fare here, so the travel insurance here. Listen, Shanique, listen. There's something amazing about the fact when you're walking where you're supposed to walk, and you're doing what you're supposed to do.
This gave me
like, some goosebumps. Like everything just. Me never see money up here. Like my dad, who I haven't spoken to in years, him just started giving me money. I said, what is happening in the world today? Like because at the time I wasn't working, so everything added up, and then my EI stopped. Like literally pay my bills here, pay tuition, pay like everything just, me never see somebody dash up money yet. It was just like a Make-A-Wish Foundation. Boom, boom.
Wow.
It was amazing. And when I was there, it literally felt like I was supposed to be there because I was worried because I'm like, it's an international program. It was people from all over the world. I mean, I really want to end up with somebody who I don't know what I'm going to end up with. And the minute I walk through the hotel, I land in Athens. I walk into the hotel, I see a Caribbean Airlines tag. I said, God, is you. I said, whose suitcase this? Whose suitcase is this? And my roommate is like, from Trinidad, hello. I said, all right. And then they ended up putting us together and we were like best of friends for the whole entire experience. Like she was literally my rock. So it's funny how you step out, provision just makes its way through, but you have to step out. You have to.
I love that. I'm curious, right?
Mhm.
As much as you are very intuitive, very self-aware, and a lot of these responses come natural to you, like, and I can relate to just having that kind of presence.
Mhm.
Are you an avid reader? Like, where do you get that support from? Do you have, as someone who would have been in a sports space, of course, coaching is not
Yeah.
something foreign to you, but what kind of mentorship do you have that kind of farms that mindset and keeps it going? Because like you mentioned a lot of things, like The Big Leap by
Mhm.
Gay Hendricks, The Tipping Point, Malcolm
Mhm.
Gladwell, like The Magic of
Oh,
Believing. Like these are
mhm.
concepts that people have spent time thinking about. And many times when I read those books, I'm like, but I'm doing that already. And nobody told me
Yeah.
that.
Nobody told me this.
How do you sustain, or do
Mhm.
you have your own mentor?
So it's an interesting thing because I do read it. I do read the Malcolm Gladwell books. I do read Tipping Points. I do read those things. But I found that for me, for me, it's always been proof is in the pudding.
Mm.
When I look back on my life and I see it every time I make a leap, something great happens. I have the certainty that every time I leap, something great will happen. I know that when they told me to go to school in North Dakota, everybody's like, away I go, away I do. I'm like, I'm gonna just do it. And I did it. And it worked out to be the best experience of my life. I knew that if I was going to go to Rio, yeah, I'm going to go Rio. What I do? All right, cool. I'm gonna roll the dice. I'm gonna do it. And it was a life-changing experience. Likewise, when I say I'm going to Greece, everybody said, Jesus, I wish I don't know. And it blows your mind. For me, it's just the evidence of things that I have done in the past, and I keep using that to reassure my decision moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you get pep talks. You get pep talks a lot. You never call somebody and say,
So we're in
I'm not.
Greece,
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking about the birth of your business, Black in Sports business.
Mm-hmm.
At what point were you like, okay, that feeling that I had in the parking lot, it's time to put it to action. It's time
In
to.
Greece, I didn't even manifest yet. In Greece, I was literally rebuilding myself because I had been so broken down. Because listen, anytime I get to leave Canada, I'm here for it. We can't stand Canada, sometimes it's gone. So being a traveler, I'm just like, the minute I got to Greece, I just felt like I was getting the chance to rebuild myself and rebuild myself in a different way. I was not going to let situations define me, but I really had to reprogram myself because I feel like I've been put into a box for so long with in terms of who people expect me to be. I had to define myself by my definition, not by somebody else's. So Greece for me was really here's where you're strong. Here are your good points. Don't forget this. This is who you're meant to be. It really gave me the tools to remind myself of like what I knew myself to be years ago that the industry kind of like tried to diminish.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came back, I was still very timid. I didn't want to work in the industry again. I went to work at Weather Network, and that space was just an amazing cocoon for me because it allowed me to kind of reestablish my confidence, but in a safe space. So I worked there, and even when I went back to Greece for second semester, they allowed me to work for them remotely. So that was like my first work from home experience, you know? So they were really, really supportive of who I was and what I was, this mission I was on. And when I came back, I did the thesis. I don't know if I know thesis, but all right, you learn by doing, right? So did the thesis, and a month after I did the thesis, or towards the end of it, I saw this job posting at CBC in the Olympic space. I'm gonna say, Olympic space. Well, isn't this? And it was a kind of job I had the experience in from before, but now specifically about Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say, wow, all right. Well, let me just apply for that job here. What's the worst that can happen? Them tell you no, in a no worse position. So I applied for the job, did my networking, got in and got the job. Like I submitted my thesis the June, I got the job in July. So
nice.
I've been there ever since. And that team of people at CBC really changed a lot about me. Like they really helped me back into a work environment that helped me to feel authentic and helped me to feel passionate about what I do. So when last year happened, 2020, and everybody had the racial reckoning, and all this stuff. that's when VSB really came to thought, because now I had the time to sit and reflect and remember that feeling in the car and remember the promise I made to myself. And I said, remember this, this is worth something, use it. And I was like, okay. I literally had no clue, but every day I would take a step. So now, fast forward a year and change later, it's an organization with over 200 people in it.
Wow.
We do things together. Like last week, we're all at the Team Canada game as a group. We're creating a community because that's what I feel I needed to have when I was going through my worst moment. I felt that like if I had somebody who looked like me in the industry, who has a similar experience like me in the industry to lean on, my fallout wouldn't have been so dramatic and so daunting. So I'm trying to create a space that avoids that for other people moving forward.
What do people need to do to be a part of this community? How do they become a member
of VSB? So if you're a Black professional and you work in the world of sport business, and by sport business, I mean, like, I work in partnerships. There are people who work on team management, people who work for NSOs, PSOs. So I'm not restricting anybody. Coaches, to some extent, because coaches have a different side of the business, but anything to do with the revenue generation piece of sport, and you're a Black person, you're welcome to join. Like, we literally just we have monthly meetings that was on a hiatus for the summer because summer did nice. And now we're back to our like monthly meetings. I try to do different activity because I want to make it a social, like, organic networking space. So that's what I'm kind of pushing for it to do. We have a mentorship program now that started last month. It's second round of mentorship. So we have that going as well. I'm just trying to just continue to cultivate, and we'll be doing a research project towards the end of this year to kind of like account for Black people's experiences in the space, to have some kind of document to say, it's not just a boogeyman. This is exactly what's happening. So the whole space is accountable to improving the way Black professionals feel in the space.
Wow. So I mean, even looking forward, right? 5 years, like, I see you guys being a staple in the space, because that what you're saying, like, a lot of times, and people use these words loosely right now, but it's really a form of gaslighting that's happening in those spaces where you're like, you don't see what just happened to me? Like, no, you're overthinking, because they're just not in the capacity to receive the information that way. And that's okay. What's not okay is that there isn't a way to combat that feels more organized. That's more of like, okay, we're joining forces, because I'm sure with your 200 members, you guys are able to move mountains right now. Like, if you call somebody and say, oh, John, this is what's happening, how can we rally some resources around this to actually have some tangible.
Move it down.
It happens, or it gets in motion, because ultimately it's like a union. If you know that you have the support, let me go to my union representative, because this ain't right. And
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, what you're doing, I'm sure it's groundbreaking, and there's so many people who need that support, because if you have, in my mind, being in the sports space is like so cool, and that's all. And I'm sure like your expectations going in was just that, especially when you come from a space or a country where, okay, sports was the thing. And yes, everything has their good and bad, but it was more good than bad. It was when you are actually working, you're on the other side, you're in another country. You have to constantly be aware of that immigrant syndrome. That it's how do I now navigate myself? I love the fact that you said that when you got to Greece, it was your moment to redefine yourself. And a lot of times, if we just remove ourselves from the noise and say, okay, I don't have the pressure of being the Marsha, because nobody don't know me here.
Nobody don't know me here.
I can just be myself and have that organically grow and develop. And like you said, reestablish your self-confidence. By the time I get back, even though like the moment you hit, some memories hit, you feel like, okay, if you really fall back into that cycle, you remember the feeling of grease, and you were able to apply that. I love that. I think that for me was one of the biggest takeaways, because as an adult, like, oftentimes we forget that we have a choice. We have it's in our hands to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to step back from this. Let me go regroup and come back and decide if I want to come back. Like, I don't have to suck it up. I can just say, you know what? I'm going to change my experience. I love that.
100%. Yep.
Where can people find you, Marsha, on the interwebs?
On the interwebs, that's a good question. So VSB is like, is like part of my persona now, I feel like. So VSB is on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and we have a website. So it is blackinsportbusiness.com, I think. Yeah, I can link it. And then for me personally, I'm on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's basically like the easiest place to find me. Don't really want anybody on my Instagram like that, you know.
I get it. Like, my Instagram followers is 300 people strong. Okay. Oh. Because I know that. Okay, look here. I don't have to explain why I move the way I move. You just know, because you really do.
Just know, or you don't. Yeah. My Instagram, I'm like, I have a list of people. I'm like, do I want you on my Instagram? So yeah, it's weird because I'm very predatory. But people are like, but you have over 1,000 people. Be quiet. They were selected with thoughts. Not everybody gets in here.
I love it.
VIP.
I love it. Thank you so much for hopping on, Marsha, sharing your story.
Thank you.
I love it. Like, you reinforced a lot. I always say that these conversations, if other people get stuff out of it, that's great. But they're first for me, because, I can, like, I do that. Oh no, I don't do that. Let me take some notes.
I take notes.
I'm on a path. I want to be the best version of myself. And if it's one thing I know, is that I don't know everything. And so if I can hear sometimes your parents might be saying something to you over and over, and it's not until somebody else says it in a different way, you're like, oh,
yes, oh.
And then you're going to tell your parents, and you're like, that's what I've been saying. But you never say it like
all the time. It's all about the delivery.
There you go. And you have to remain open to learning. And that absolutely. I am, at least in this space. I'm sure there are spaces where I'm very stubborn, but not this one.
Not this space, because I'm cool. I'm open here.
Yes. Thank you so much. I really, really,
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. And I hope that from this conversation, if nothing else, people can apply something to their own lives to kind of reignite that best version of themselves.
Absolutely. That's what we're hoping for.
Thank you so much. And guys, until the next episode, we'll soon come back.